Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Credit Repair Kit for Dummies, 5th edition, by Melyssa Barrett, Steve Bucci, and Rod Griffin. Forward by John Hope Bryant, narrated by Tom Parks. Publisher's note: in this audio edition, you will hear references to figures and tables present in the print and ebook formats of the book. Forward. Chances are, at this very moment, you're within arm's reach of a small yet powerful device, your smartphone. This relatively tiny yet complex machine was once considered an optional luxury. Now in 21st century America, it's a necessary utility for everyday life. Our cell phones give us access to nearly everything imaginable: food, information, transportation, vacation options, you name it, and it's available at your fingertips. Though it has profound potential to make our lives easier, we leave so much of its capability on the table without ever fully realizing its benefits. Worse, we have a tendency to abuse it, all because we didn't approach it with respect and understanding. Credit is the same way. Credit is the fuel that helps drive most of the major milestones in life: purchasing your first home, leasing a new car, launching your own business, even getting a job offer. Credit impacts so much of our lives, yet many of us are unaware of its potential and the vast possibilities it offers if we learn to leverage it properly and use it for our betterment. Today, more than 191 million Americans have access to credit through a credit card or have unknowingly begun building their credit profile through other means. Yet most people are unaware of what this means for their lives today and, more important, their futures. They understand its basic functions, but they don't access its best features simply because they don't know how. As an entrepreneur, philanthropist, and nonprofit leader, I understand just how important this subject is to so many Americans and the future of the American dream, especially the underbanked and underserved. For far too long, many people on the margins never received the memo on financial literacy and credit management. Unknowingly, they began to borrow against their future and lock themselves out of much-needed opportunities. But the beauty of our country is that we all have a chance to make our hopes and aspirations become a reality, even after we've messed up, if given the right tools and opportunity. Melyssa Barrett, Steve Bucci, and Rod Griffin offer both of those through Credit Repair Kit for Dummies. This book empowers you with the knowledge and mindset needed to make the most of your credit and live your best life. But you must apply the lessons learned and dedicate yourself to living them out daily. This edition of this book is special because it takes into account the ongoing challenges that our nation continues to face regarding financial equity, diversity, and inclusion. With an exciting new chapter, 3 experts address these issues head-on and invite every reader from every background to learn the rules of the credit game, participate, and win. Regardless of race, creed, culture, or class, you have the power to make your dreams come true. We're all rooting for you. John Hope Bryant, founder, chairman, and CEO, Operation Hope. Introduction. The credit crisis has been replaced by the credit chronic. Now more than ever, your ability to weather and recover from the next crisis depends on your credit. You've already lived through a series of financial explosions that caused a credit winter and that gave way to a fragile and uneven credit spring thaw. You've heard of the meteor that killed off the dinosaurs by causing a prolonged winter environment around the globe, and of the consequences of an atomic war called a nuclear winter? Well, the same thing can happen to your credit, regardless of what causes it. For many people, credit loosens and tightens cyclically. For others, it has been a challenge through good times and bad. equal access to credit and the benefits it brings have never been fully assured for those new to credit, including immigrants, minorities, and the working poor. Credit access may have thawed over the last few years, but only for those people who have a solid credit report and credit score. Loan interest rates may be low, but criteria for obtaining the best credit terms are not. Jobs may be readily available or scarce depending on the economy, but regardless, failing a credit review can keep you unemployed in the best of times. Your need for great credit never ends. This book is meant to help you successfully rebuild and manage your credit. Rather than taking an academic approach to the subject of credit, it helps you succeed at integrating credit into your real life. It enables you to make great credit an outcome of the decisions you make every day as you pursue life and happiness. I call it your credit life connection. Given today's increasing reliance on credit reporting and credit scores for lending and non-lending decisions making, you need better credit and a higher credit score to access today's credit products, which are an essential part of leading a rewarding life in today's society. Not only are the criteria for the best access to credit very selective, but the penalties for ignorance and failure have multiplied. And if all this isn't enough, the non-lending use of credit reports is growing seemingly by the day. Updates to this book tell you about new consumer databases that collect information about your medical history, prescription drug use, rental history, banking data, and more. Employers, insurance companies, landlords, and lenders use this information to decide whether to hire or promote you, what insurance rates to give you, whether to rent you an apartment, and whether to offer you new banking products. You need to know what's in these files, and that's one of the many things we tell you how to do in this book. Credit Repair Kit for Dummies comes at a critical time. Credit plays an ever-changing and increasingly important role in your life, regardless of whether you use a credit card. Insurance, employment, home buying or renting, and getting an education with student loans are more dependent than ever on you having good credit. Plus, although the rewards for good credit have never been higher, the penalties for failure, foreclosure, eviction, job problems, mounting debts, collections have never been greater. For these reasons and more, millions of people are looking for up-to-date, useful, and proven answers from a trusted and knowledgeable resource. If you know the rules of the credit game, you'll get a winning score. That's why we wanted to bring you the best, non-biased information in the industry based on our decades of experience and research. About this book. The approach we outline in this book is different because it's low cost and simple and drives right to the heart of the matter. With this book, you can manage your credit by applying just a few key concepts. Unlike the talk show approach of making one philosophy fit all after a 15-second question and answer period, this book takes the time to give you the concepts and tools you need so that you can apply them to your specific situation and come up with an answer that's custom-tailored to you. So, why this book? Because although credit problems can seem incredibly complex and unfair, you can have good credit with a few simple actions that anyone can master. We give you all the tools and insight you need to rebuild your credit or build it up for the first time. Because you may need the advice of an experienced advisor to guide you through a mortgage problem. This book tells you how to find a good resource for credit or bankruptcy counseling. Because your credit may be in detention due to crushing student loans. This book can help you find the right solution and then rebuild your credit score as quickly as possible. Because you want to get a job or promotion, buy a reliable car to get to your job, start a business, insure your home, apartment, or car, or further your education. If any of these situations applies, you need a good credit record. because you may be one of the millions of people who become victims of personal data theft each year. This book provides valuable information to salvage and protect your identity. Because you may be on the brink, or even over the cliff, of credit trouble. This book gives you budgeting and spending advice that can pull you back from the edge. Because the time is right for you to regain control of your credit and your financial peace of mind. This book helps you do just that. Foolish Assumptions. We assume that you're reading this book because you know that repairing your credit is important, but you may not know all the ins and outs of making credit work for you. Whether your credit is not so great and you want to know how to improve it, or your credit is just plain non-existent and you want to establish it on your own terms, you'll benefit from this book. An understanding of your credit and how the credit system works may be especially important during life's transitions. We assume that this book can be of value to you if you're concerned about your credit report and who may be looking at it, concerned about the credit status of a loved one, considering what to do about overwhelming debt, wondering how to deal with medical bills, unsure about the credit impact of remaining in your home or walking away, starting over again after filing for bankruptcy, taking on or paying back a student loan, concerned that your personal information may have been compromised or stolen, already in or soon to be in a marriage or partnership, recently divorced or in the process of divorcing, reestablishing credit after the loss of a spouse or partner, hunting for a job or hoping for a promotion, establishing credit for the first time, wanting to know how to maintain good credit after you get back on track. We assume that you don't have a formal education in credit or personal finance. Even if you do, however, we believe that you can still find practical insights in this book based on our experience and that of others we've helped. Icons used in this book. Icons are those little pictures you see sprinkled throughout this book. Here's what they mean. Remember. This icon denotes critical information. Considering the state of our own overcrowded memories, we wouldn't ask you to remember anything unless it was really important. Technical stuff. This image of a credit professional, of the Dummies man, shows up whenever we go into more detail on a concept or rule. If you don't care about the details of how something works or where it came from, feel free to skip these gems. Tip. This light bulb lets you know that you're reading on-target advice, often little-known insights or recommendations that we've picked up over the years. Warning. This icon serves as a warning, telling you to avoid something that's potentially harmful. Take heed. Beyond the book. In addition to the material in the print or ebook that you're reading right now, this product also comes with some Access Anywhere goodies on the web. Even though this book is packed with helpful tips and advice for repairing your credit, we've provided even more tools and resources beyond what's in the book. Go to dummies.com/go/credit repair kit FD5E to find useful forms, worksheets, sample letters, and credit-related legislation and laws. The online material also includes a glossary of commonly used credit industry terms. Also be sure to check out the cheat sheet for this book. There you can find contact information for the 3 major credit bureaus, credit score breakdowns, tips for improving your credit score, and advice on handling an overdue mortgage. Just go to dummies.com and type Credit Repair Kit for Dummies cheat sheet in the search box. Where to go from here? You get to choose what happens next. This book is packed with information to help you repair your credit. You can use the table of contents and index to jump directly to the topics of most interest to you, or you can start at the beginning of the book and take it from there. With the information in Credit Repair Kit for Dummies, you can get great credit and keep it great for the long haul. We wish you all the best in achieving your dreams, which increasingly require good credit to realize. You and your family deserve it. Part 1. Getting Started with Credit Repair. In this part, understand the basic workings of credit, credit repair, and credit scores. Find out how to rebuild your credit after a crisis. Fix inaccuracies and add positive data in your credit reports and boost your credit score. Solve your credit problems on your own or get expert help that really works for free. Field calls from debt collectors with confidence. Deal successfully with debt collectors, lawyers, and court actions. Chapter 1. Introducing Credit Repair, Credit Scores, and Your Life on Credit. In this chapter, handling credit problems, dealing with the issues surrounding equity and diversity in credit, rebuilding your credit after a crisis such as a foreclosure or bankruptcy, safeguarding your credit and your identity, discovering how to manage your credit, keeping your credit solid in every stage of life. Credit plays a larger role in life than ever, and it looks like its influence will only expand in the years to come. The good life, happiness, and credit are inextricably linked. It's not that more material things make you happier, but bad credit exacts a price from your life, your hopes, and your dreams, as well as your relationships with others. Think of it as your credit/life connection. Whether it is hard or easy, fair or not, you must learn to successfully manage your credit, and by extension your personal finances, if you are to lead a successful and satisfying life in these United States. Financial products, credit foremost among them, have become much more complex and powerful, while the price for having a bad credit report or no credit at all has never been steeper. Your credit report is a financial snapshot of your life in financial terms. For example, a divorce can wreak havoc in your life, and that instability can show up as missed payments or even a bankruptcy on your credit report as well. When you use credit, the information usually gets reported to a data storehouse known as a credit bureau. This information ends up on your credit report for at least the next 7 years. The good, the bad, and the ugly are all there for anyone you do business with to see, and for FICO and Vantage Score to summarize in a 3-digit number known as your credit score. Bad credit can keep you from finding a job, getting the promotions you deserve at work, being approved for an affordable loan, getting insurance or paying the lowest price for it, securing an apartment or house, and more. This chapter is all about getting you started in repairing, rebuilding, or even just starting your credit so you can get that job, promotion, loan, home, and insurance to protect it. We cover the basics and the fine points. If you don't understand credit, you can't fix it. So we discuss how credit works, how to apply that knowledge to get what you want, how to deal with the effects of life's inevitable setbacks on your credit, and how to recover from those setbacks as quickly as possible. Other chapters build on this information, helping to make your credit the best it can be and keep it that way. Why? Because life isn't always fair, but you still need to repair the damage and carry on without being taken advantage of by unscrupulous financial companies or wasting precious years recovering from credit problems that you can avoid or minimize by using the advice in this book. Repairing bad credit. After you've had a rough patch and fallen behind on your payments, You may think that you can never recover. Between the cost of interest and maybe even collection actions, the situation can be overwhelming. But we assure you that you can reverse the cycle. You can not only reestablish good credit, but also keep good credit for the rest of your life. Forever is a long time, but if you follow our advice, you can banish the credit blues permanently. It's not magic, and it won't cost you another dime. By realistically assessing your situation, seeing yourself as others see you, knowing where you stand, using free help if you need it, setting goals, planning your spending and savings, and using credit as part of your overall plan, you can quickly rebuild your credit. Settling debts. You hear the ads all the time. Settle your debt for pennies on the dollar. You have a right to pay less than you owe. Debt settlement is an often misunderstood option that may work for you, but only if you handle it properly. Many companies that offer debt settlement services help themselves a lot more than they help you. You can avoid huge fees and potential credit damage if you reach a settlement agreement with your lender on your own or if you use your own attorney. Remember, you are personally responsible for the actions of the debt settlement company you hire, and your credit will be ruined in a protracted and adversarial settlement process. Chapter 6 gives you the information you need to decide whether debt settlement is for you and outlines your best options. Resetting your goals. Just as you did when you first started establishing credit, we want you to revisit your goals from time to time. When your life changes, your goals should reflect that new reality. Goals that once seemed within easy reach may move from short-term to long-term. Others may change as you mature. Buying that red sports car may not be as important to you now as it was in your 20s. Take the time to reset your sights, as we explain in Chapter 2. Begin by envisioning your life as you'd like it to be over the short, medium, and long term. Next, create a spending plan, or update your plan if you already have one, so that you know your current financial resources. Then, begin to see how long it will take to fund your goals and determine when using credit may be appropriate. Chapter 18 goes into detail about how to create and maintain a spending plan and how to use credit wisely as a part of that plan. To ensure that your credit is up to the task of supporting your goals for the future, check your credit reports and dispute any inaccuracies or out-of-date information. To rebuild your credit reports, you need to start with an accurate credit history, not one riddled with errors that may hold you back. After you check your reports, look for opportunities to review them for free as often as you can. Part 4 tells you everything you need to know about credit reporting. Rebuilding your credit by using it. The best way to rebuild your credit is to exercise it. Using your goals and spending plan as a guide, start making those payments as agreed, on time, and for the correct amounts. Every month you do so, you build better credit, while your older, bad credit either counts for less or drops off your credit reports altogether. Tip: consider opening a secured credit card, backed by a bank account deposit or a passbook loan, to add a revolving and installment account to fatten your credit history and boost your score. You can find the details in Chapter 10. Using a cosigner or becoming an authorized user. We normally don't recommend that you cosign for a loan, but in this case, someone else is doing the cosigning. Enlisting a cosigner is a way to get access to credit so that you can begin to rebuild your credit history with the credit bureaus. But you need to keep in mind a few important rules. You have to make all the payments on time. If you can't make a payment when it's due, you have to tell the cosigner in advance so that the cosigner can make the payment and protect his or her credit. You can pay your pal back later. You can't get mad at the cosigner for not being understanding or more helpful while you owe him or her money. Your cosigner is doing you a huge favor at great personal credit risk. Another way to rebuild your credit is to become an authorized user on someone else's credit card. After you've added to the other person's account, his or her good credit history flows onto your credit record as a positive account and payment stream, beefing up your record and credit score. The person needs to have good credit, though, or his or her bad credit will negatively affect yours. We suggest that you decline getting your own card for the account so that only the other person's charges appear on the account. That way, if he or she has a bad memory, as we do, you're spared monthly calls asking whether this or that charge is yours. Although you won't have access to new credit, your credit score gets a boost. Finding sources of free help. You can do a lot of things on your own, but sometimes having a pro on your side to give you tips helps. You can find that help in 3 main places, and it ranges from inexpensive to free. Nonprofit credit counselors, pro bono lawyers, and HUD-approved counseling agencies offer priceless insight, assistance, and advice. The trick is to know to ask for it. Nonprofit credit counselors work with you to set goals, develop a spending plan, and assess your ability to repay your debts. They can set up a repayment plan in concert with your lenders to lower your payments and interest rates and get positive information back on your credit reports faster than you could on your own. They're funded by creditors, but work for you, and we recommend the good ones highly. Discover where to find the good ones in Chapter 4. Lawyers sometimes offer free or pro bono help if you can't afford to pay. Chapter 4 includes a list of resources to help you find one in your area. A mortgage is a different and sometimes dangerous type of loan. The rules for handling a delinquent mortgage are different from those for regular consumer debts, and the penalty for a mistake can be the loss of your home. So we strongly recommend that if you have a mortgage problem, you get professional HUD-certified help. You can find an agency at the HUD website, hud.gov. Warning: watch out for bad help. In a nutshell, if someone approaches you and offers to help for a fee, don't do it. The free resources work well. The costly ones too often are just ways to separate you from your money while you're under stress. Dealing with collectors. Sometimes you have to take the call. You know it's a debt collector, but you don't know what to say, do, or offer. Chapter 5 spells out how to take control of the collection process. Collectors must follow certain rules, and if you know the rules, you'll feel more confident in dealing with a stressful situation. The Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, FDCPA, regulates what collectors can and can't do. In general, this law protects you from abuse and threats. For example, a collector can't threaten an action that it can't or doesn't intend to take, can't make harassing calls, and can't use abusive language. When you know your rights and insist on being treated fairly, you can negotiate a payment schedule that fits your budget. If you need help coming up with a workable plan, you can always ask a credit counselor for assistance. Chapter 5 offers solutions that work, from how to handle calls and threatening letters to how to craft a repayment proposal. We walk you through how to keep a small collection annoyance from becoming a major and upsetting life event. Weathering a major crisis. Some credit problems are worse than others. In Chapter 7, we cover 4 of the big ones: mortgages, medical debt, student loans, and auto repossessions. Mortgage meltdowns. In our experience, a mortgage crisis is among the most upsetting, expensive, and damaging to your credit and relationships. Your home is your castle. When you are at risk of losing it, you likely feel as though your very existence is under attack. Thinking matters through and coming up with the best solution for you and your family may be difficult. In this section, we preview the major options to help guide you along the path. Check out Chapter 7 for more mortgage information. Mortgages are different from other types of debts and credit because of a number of factors, including the size of the debt, the importance the lender attaches to a debt secured by a home, and the fact that the debt is probably packaged in a security that's been resold many times and is subject to inflexible collection rules. Mortgage delinquency can have a significant and long-lasting negative effect on your credit score. For example, being just 30 days late on a mortgage payment can cost you 100-plus points on your credit score and take 3 years to recover from. The upshot is that if you're in danger of falling behind on your mortgage payments or you're already behind, you're better off seeking professional help. Opting for help. In a mortgage crisis, the sooner you get help, the better. The reason is simple. The stakes are high, and the help is free. Warning. Most people who have a mortgage payment due on the 1st of the month know that they have until the 15th to pay it. Do you? If you miss that payment on the 15th, you're 45 days late. Mortgages are paid in arrears, so the bill is already 30 days old when you get it. Miss the due date, and the 15-day grace period goes away until you catch up. By the 15th of the next month, you're 15 days away from a foreclosure action. Fast, isn't it? So we suggest that you don't delay in contacting a HUD-approved counseling agency. These agencies are often housed in credit counseling agencies, so they can address all your debt issues at once. Doing it on your own. You may insist on working out your mortgage problems on your own. The process is tricky and long, but it can be done. Chapter 7 goes into details on the steps and timeframes for action. In addition to acting quickly, you need to keep excellent notes about who you speak with, when you talk, and what is said. You're dealing with a bureaucracy, and bureaucracies love to forget that they ever heard from you and send you all over the place to avoid responsibility for helping. So good notes are essential. Chapter 7 lists key terms and things to ask for so you can sound like you know what you're talking about. Remember, just because a bank doesn't want to take your home doesn't mean that it won't. As in any debt resolution process, you need to do your homework before you call your mortgage servicer. Know what you really need in terms of help to take care of your missed payments and know what you can offer. You may be able to make additional payments over a 6-month period to catch up. Or you may need to ask for a reduced payment amount for a certain amount of time. Whatever you need, you have to be specific. Chapter 7 helps you understand the major options, but they change frequently, so you may have to rely on your mortgage servicer, the bureaucrat, to advise you. If you can't work out a compromise, there are ways to leave your home that result in less credit damage. Among them are deed in lieu of foreclosure. You give the house back, saving the bank foreclosure expenses. Short sale. You get the bank to agree to let you try to sell the house for less than the mortgage value. Friendly foreclosure. You cooperate with the bank and leave the house in good shape on a timely basis. Chapter 7 goes into more detail about these options. Strategic mortgage default. Strategic mortgage default isn't an option that anyone likes. However, a number of people consider walking away from their homes as an alternative to trying to work matters out. Based on how much you owe, you may be very, very unlikely to get back the money you're putting into monthly mortgage payments. Why waste thousands in overpayments? Following that reasoning, some people are mailing the keys to the bank and walking away from their homes. Credit damage from a strategic default is significant and lasts a long time. You can expect to have really bad credit for 7 years and to see a credit score drop of 140 to 160 points. See Chapter 14 for more on credit scoring. Plus, Fannie Mae, the government agency that guarantees most mortgages, won't guarantee a new loan for you for the next 7 years, which means that to buy another home in the next 7 years, you'll pay more for a new mortgage, and you'll need expensive mortgage insurance. Medical debt. Being ill is bad enough. Dealing with medical debt can sometimes seem insurmountable. There are special rules in both credit reporting and credit scoring that can help set your mind at ease. Knowing the rules from Chapter 7 may help lower your blood pressure. We also help you deal with medical insurance issues with a list of your options and resources. Student loans. Chapter 7 covers how to establish a credit history using student loans. When your payments begin, we cover how to avoid a default and, if that's not possible, where to get help. Did you know you may be able to get your student loans forgiven? We cover the rules and how the CARES Act can help. Car loans. Missing a payment or two may not be a big deal for a credit card, but it can be a disaster for a car loan. Knowing what counts can help you avoid a repossession, along with the expenses and damage to your credit that goes along with it. We cover your options to cure a default, scams to avoid, and what happens if your car is repossessed. Understanding diversity in credit. For most Americans, credit is as American as apple pie. But for some, especially minorities, the poor, and immigrants, credit can appear mysterious, unfair, and part of a system designed to ensure an expensive failure on their part. Chapter 19 tackles these issues and more head-on. It recognizes the previously discriminatory history of race in credit while offering a solid understanding of why that's no longer the case. It details how credit reporting, credit scoring, and credit legislation have reset the relationship between lending and minorities. It also debunks credit myths with credit facts and offers tips to make you successful whether you're applying for a loan or need to access help if you get in trouble. When it's time to take control of your credit, this new chapter is your ticket to success. Just follow the 10 steps detailed in Chapter 19, and you'll have great credit and a high score to match. Filing bankruptcy. There are times in life when you just can't cope. For some people, this is also true in credit matters. If you're unable to come to terms with the aftermath of being overextended, bankruptcy may enable you to hit the reset button and start over again, but there is no free lunch. While you pay a price in terms of future credit, bankruptcy for the right reasons and in the right circumstances may be your best bet. This section gives you a quick look at an often misunderstood and misused tool so that you can decide whether the cure for your debts is worth the damage to your credit. Chapter 8 has more information on the updated bankruptcy process, what it means to you, and what your alternatives are. If you do opt for bankruptcy, you need to pass a means test to see which type you can file for. Chapter 7 bankruptcy gets rid of some of your debts, but not others. If you don't qualify for Chapter 7, Chapter 13 bankruptcy requires you to pay what you can afford to your creditors over a 5-year period. In a nutshell, if you earn too much money, you have to pay your bills in a Chapter 13. Even worse, from our point of view, is that filing for bankruptcy may not solve your problem. If you're in debt trouble because you spend more than you make, or to put it another way, because your expenses exceed your income, then bankruptcy won't change the situation. Before long, you may be back in debt, but without the option of refiling. After filing for bankruptcy, you face a waiting period before you can file again. This period can range from 2 to 8 years, depending on the type of bankruptcy you file and the type you want to file next. Remember, in today's tight credit market, expect a long recovery time from a bankruptcy. Recent FICO research indicates that a Chapter 7 filing can lower a good credit score by up to 240 points, and that it takes 7 to 10 years for the score to recover to its original level. Ouch! That's a long stay in the bad credit hotel. Be sure it's worth it. Protecting your credit and your identity. Your credit history is increasingly used for more than just determining the interest rate on your credit card. It affects your ability to compete for a job or a promotion, get affordable insurance, qualify for professional licenses, military service and security clearances, and even find a decent place to live. At the same time, data breaches have exposed the personal information of millions of people to identity thieves. These thieves can use stolen identities to establish credit in your name without your knowledge and then overuse and default on that credit. Getting familiar with credit laws. Over the past several years, Congress has passed new laws to give consumers more protections. Knowing about and taking advantage of these safeguards can help you keep your credit safe. If your identity is stolen, knowing your rights is essential to a quick resolution. Among the laws we discuss in Chapter 20 are the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act, which created a single consumer watchdog agency and allows consumers free access to their credit scores under certain conditions, Card Act, which restricts lenders from raising rates on existing balances and more, FACT Act, which gives you access to free credit reports and identity theft protection and remedies, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, FDCPA, which spells out your rights and the rules that debt collectors must follow, CARES Act, which impacts student loan repayment, foreclosure rules, free weekly credit reports, and more. Receiving free reports and filing disputes. As Chapter 13 explains in more detail, the FACT Act entitles you to a free copy of your credit report annually from each of the 3 major credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. We strongly recommend that you get these reports every chance you can and check them for errors. In addition to the one annual free report, your state may require the bureaus to give you more copies, sometimes many more. In addition, you're entitled to extra free reports, free credit scores if you've been turned down for credit, didn't get the top rate offered, or had an adverse action, like a reduction in credit limit, on a credit card. All these situations are opportunities to check and clean up your credit reports for free. Signing up for credit monitoring. Every time we turn around, someone is offering to monitor our credit. Do you need this service, and are you willing to pay for it? Chapter 15 gets into the details of credit monitoring. With a few exceptions, we find that it's an unnecessary expense. With all the opportunities you have for free reports, paying for more may be overkill. As for credit score monitoring, expect your score to change frequently as new data comes into and leaves your credit report. Unless you are planning a big purchase in the near future that requires new credit, like a house, knowing your score every day is like knowing the value of your home when you don't intend to sell it. Relatively interesting, but ultimately useless information. Remember, if you have a credit card, you may already have good fraud monitoring in place. Most cards monitor spending patterns to sniff out fraud and identity theft before they cost the cardholder a fortune. One less reason to pay to have your credit monitored. Setting alarms, alerts, and freezes. If you're still worried about others accessing your credit data, you have the right to limit access to only those you approve. Chapter 15 covers how to limit access, along with the pluses and minuses of doing so. Among your options, you can set up alerts with your creditors to spot new activity on your account, place an alert on your credit file so that lenders use more caution before approving any changes, place an active duty alert on your files if you're a member of the military, freeze access to your account so that no new creditors can access your information without your express permission, except if you owe the government money. Identifying identity theft. Still the number one reported crime at the Federal Trade Commission, identity theft isn't going away. The number of cases reported is small in relation to the huge amount of identity information that hackers collect every time you hear of a database compromise. Your identity may be in jeopardy for years to come as thieves warehouse your data for a future time. Simple vigilance can help you stop identity theft in its early stages before serious damage is done. Follow these tips from Chapter 21. Protect your information at home. Most identity theft is low-tech and committed by people whom you invite into your home. Shred financial documents that contain account and Social Security numbers. Use electronic bill paying to avoid bill theft from your mailbox. Check your credit report at least once a year to look for unfamiliar credit lines. If you see accounts you don't recognize, take the actions we suggest in Chapter 21. If the unthinkable happens and you become an identity theft victim, you need to take fast, effective steps as soon as you find out you've been victimized. Chapter 9 walks you through what you need to do and whom you need to contact. It also helps you reestablish your credit afterward. Maintaining good credit throughout life. Your credit report presents a financial snapshot of your life so far. As your life changes, your credit report changes too. If your life is filled with positives like a steady job, a good income, controlled expenses, and maybe even a partner, then your credit report should reflect that stability. If, however, you have a reversal of fortune with a job loss, income interruption, illness, or divorce, expect your credit to reflect the stress of your life. Establishing credit for the first time. Getting credit doesn't need to be scary. You have easy ways to establish credit for the first time or the second time around as a newly single person. Knowing what to do and what to avoid makes this process simple and foolproof. Chapter 10 covers the essentials of getting your credit up and running. Using simple techniques like borrowing your own money and using retail store cards and authorized user accounts, you can establish good credit in no time. Your credit score can be figured on a history of just a month or two, and then you're on your way. If you're concerned that credit is unfair to minorities, Chapter 19 gives you the facts and tips you're looking for to be sure you'll be financially successful applying for and using credit. Tip: here are a few ways to build credit for the first time. Open a savings account at a bank that reports to all 3 credit bureaus. Then take out a loan using the account as security and make monthly payments on time. Have a relative add you as an authorized user on his or her credit card. Your relative's history will flow onto your credit report. Apply for a secured credit card with a bank that reports monthly to all 3 bureaus. Making credit changes at life stages. As you move through life, You find new needs for credit and encounter new challenges in keeping your credit strong when life gets bumpy. Chapters 11 and 12 help you negotiate life's often turbulent credit waters without capsizing your boat. Credit plays a strong role in every aspect of life, including getting a job, buying a home or renting an apartment, purchasing a car, insuring your home and car, getting married or divorced, paying medical bills, planning for retirement and end-of-life expenses, and more. Many people know that because a prospective employer may check your credit in the hiring process, having good credit while job hunting is important. But how can you keep your credit in good shape when you've been laid off and don't have enough income to handle all your bills? Chapter 12 tells you how. It also gives you practical tips for safeguarding your credit before, during, and after a divorce. Avoiding pitfalls. Whether you're new to credit or you're a credit veteran, you need to be careful of counterproductive actions. Some examples of things we advise you to avoid if at all possible are payday lenders, refund anticipation loans, check cashers, and credit repair companies. Warning: you won't go blind from using a payday lender once for an emergency, but the very concept of this type of high-interest loan is flawed. If you have no savings, you're living paycheck to paycheck, and an emergency expense comes up, does getting a payday loan make sense? You have to pay back a short-term 2 weeks or so loan on your next payday. But all that money is already committed, so how can you pay it back? Chances are you'll need more than one loan and end up owing lots of money in interest charges. Refund anticipation loans are another potentially counterproductive borrowing product. These loans accelerate an e-filed tax refund by a very short period for a very large fee when calculated as an annual percentage rate, APR. Plus, if your refund is held up or reduced, you owe more money on the loan than you expected. Check cashers perform a valid but expensive function for people with no bank accounts who need to cash checks. We suggest that you get a bank account so you have a place to begin saving and stop paying for unnecessary check cashing. Credit repair companies have a horrid reputation. Legislation called the Credit Repair Organizations Act tried to limit the damage caused by fraudulent actions that some companies advise to rig the credit reporting system. If you're thinking of credit repair companies, think again. Debt settlers can put you into an adversarial process in which you can get caught in the middle of a financial and legal tug-of-war with potentially devastating consequences. We cover them in Chapter 4. Managing credit in today's unforgiving economy. The concept of credit is easy to understand. You receive something now in return for your believable promise to pay for it later. Mortgages, student loans, credit cards, auto loans, and other types of credit all fit this definition. Some people think that credit is a way to increase their income. It's not, although credit can help you manage your income. Others see credit as a way to enhance status. We have a platinum card and you don't. These distinctions are just ways to wrap additional products, features, and profits into the same credit instrument. Credit enables you to conveniently spend money that you've already earned or saved, or to spend money today that you'll earn tomorrow. But spending tomorrow's money today gets people in more trouble than they ever dreamed of. Trouble that can cost them huge interest payments and fees and shut them out of future opportunities. For those with a combination of poor credit management and bad luck, the trouble can take the form of collections and lawsuits. But not for you. Managing your finances is easy if you know the rules of the game, do some basic and painless planning, and know where you stand. Planning for success. Behind every successful person or venture is a plan. Whether it's detailed or general, a plan for your money and your credit is one of the basic criteria for success. Why? Because others have a plan for your money, and if you don't have one, their plan will win. Your financial plan begins with envisioning your future as you'd like it to be. Do you desire a home, an education, vacations, a family? The basis of your plan consists of your personal dreams and vision expressed as goals. Long and short-term goals form a firm base on which to build a plan, and they give you the incentive to fund your plan with savings and targeted spending. Counting up all your income and making decisions on how much to spend and how much to put toward your goals comes next. Called a budget or spending plan, this tool becomes your roadmap to financial success. Chapter 18 provides step-by-step instructions for setting up your goals and plan. After deciding on your goals and setting up your spending plan, you want to consider how credit can help. Using credit cards for convenience and auto and home loans for big-ticket items helps accomplish your goals. Each has different criteria to access to the best, lowest-priced products. The criteria you bring to the table are found in your credit report and credit score. Reviewing your credit report. Your credit is increasingly used to predict your future value as a customer, employee, and insurance risk. Why? Because if you have bad credit, you're more likely to file insurance claims and perform less well in your job. Research shows that employees with credit problems are less productive and have more absences than those with good credit. So employers use credit reports during the hiring process to complete their assessments of candidates. In a competitive job market, a bad credit report can make the difference between getting an offer and seeing the employer move on to the next candidate. Lending decisions used to be based on who you were. A local banker typically would know you personally and could approve or deny your application based on your reputation and his prior experience with you. Today, few borrowers have personal relationships with their lenders. Even if they do, most loans go before a committee that requires more than a personal reference to approve a loan. Using the information in your credit report enables a group of strangers to objectively assess your payback record. Lenders still like to see evidence of character, capacity, and collateral, known as the 3 C's of lending. Your credit reports show your character, whether you keep your promises, and help measure your capacity, how much credit you've handled before. These 2 factors can impact the amount of collateral you need to secure a loan at a given rate. Warning: the information in your credit report is essential to your financial life. But what if your file contains mistakes? Your credit report contains personal information, account information, and public legal records about you. After you know what is in your report, you can take simple steps to delete out-of-date or erroneous information and add positive data that polishes your credit image to get you what you want and need. Knowing your credit score. Your credit score is a numerical analysis of the years of credit data contained in your credit report. The organizations that calculate your credit score use a proven algorithm, formula, that can predict the likelihood of you defaulting on your next loan over the next 2 years. Your score doesn't take into account characteristics like gender, race, nationality, or marital status. The result is a discrimination and prejudice-free assessment of you as a credit risk. See Chapter 19. Boiling down the decision-making process to a 3-digit score also gives you the convenience of a quick approval or denial of your credit application. 2 main scoring models are in use today: FICO and VantageScore. Both scores range from 300 to 850. Several weighted factors make up your score. By understanding these factors, you can avoid surprises when you apply for that mortgage or other loan. Chapter 13 gives you detailed definitions of each of these scoring factors and tells you how to boost your score with simple credit management techniques, like keeping your card balances below 30% of your limit and using your savings account to secure a low-interest rate loan. The differences in interest payments over a number of years can run from hundreds of dollars on a credit card to tens of thousands for a mortgage. Tip: all the information used to determine your credit score is contained in one place, your credit report. Well, 3 places. You have at least 3 credit reports from the credit bureaus Equifax and Experian and TransUnion. The result is that you probably have at least 3 different credit scores. How can you be sure that the information in each of your credit reports is accurate and as positive as possible, leading to the highest possible credit scores? Great credit begins by knowing what's in your report and what's not. Part 4 provides more information about monitoring your credit reports and scores. Considering credit a renewable resource. Some people have a block when it comes to math. That block can carry over into credit, which is based on seemingly endless and confusing numbers. We've helped clients understand credit by relating it to something everyone understands: the environment. Everyone knows that pollution is bad for the environment. Everyone knows that environmental resources can either be overused and diminished or be managed well and renewed. And everyone knows that a balance among all the environment's parts is necessary for the environment to be healthy and sustainable. The same principles apply to credit. We call this credit environment your credit ecosystem. You may find understanding your credit easier if you view it as its own ecosystem. Each credit scoring component affects the others, and pollution in the form of negative reported behavior hurts your ecosystem. Like the real-world ecosystem, damage from credit pollution takes time to clean up. If the damage is bad enough, it causes severe systemic damage for years before your credit environment can recover. You manage your credit environment by limiting your use of credit and monitoring your credit's health by being aware of your credit score and the information flowing into your reports. Doing so keeps everything in harmony, and the resulting balance strengthens your credit ecosystem. Overspending and overusing credit deplete your resources faster than you can replace them, much like overfishing or excessive logging. An ever-increasing accumulation of debt from using more credit than you have income to support strains your credit ecosystem, perhaps to the point of collapse. Defaulting on payments introduces pollution into your credit report. Like an oil spill, this pollution can't be covered up and hidden. You have to clean it up properly and put safeguards in place to prevent it from happening again. Credit pollution, like its environmental counterpart, has effects beyond your credit report. A polluted credit report can hurt your job prospects, place a strain on your finances in the form of larger payments for insurance and loans, and more. We call credit used wisely, in accordance with your plan to build a positive credit history and score, green credit. Chapter 17 gives you more insight into this way of understanding your credit and managing it like a renewable resource. Green credit is part of a balanced spending and income system that's reflected in your spending plan. By using credit judiciously, as you would organic fertilizer, you increase the buying power of your present income in a responsible way and replenish the resources you're using before they run out. Chapter 2. Turning your credit around. In this chapter, knowing what hurts and helps your credit score the most, deciding whether to use a cosigner, cleaning up your credit with some credit tools, improving your credit with both small and big purchases, using debt to build good credit. Everybody makes a wrong turn or gets lost from time to time. Sometimes you misunderstand a road sign. Other times you get bad directions. And then there are times when you just don't know how to get where you're going, but decide to try anyway and figure it out along the journey. Credit works the same way. The big difference is that a lot of people watch and keep score of how you find your way. If your credit isn't in great shape, you want to get it back on track as quickly as possible. Like a road trip that takes you where you want to go, building and improving your credit helps you attain your life goals. You are more likely to enjoy your journey if you have specific, self-serving, and enjoyable goals in mind when you begin your trip to get into better credit shape. Give yourself permission to dream. Identifying those goals is your first step. You don't have to lay out your whole future in financial terms, but thinking at least 5 years ahead is an excellent way to start. And it's easy and fun to boot. Credit, like a car, is a means to an end, a tool and nothing more. Building up your credit for no purpose is dull. Credit with a destination is exciting. This chapter is dedicated to helping you improve your credit and boost your credit score. Consider it your roadmap, designed to help you prevent those credit negatives or pesky detours from adding up. Allow me to serve as your navigator. Time to gas up the car and hit the road. Understanding how your actions impact your credit score. Every time you use or abuse your credit, it has an effect on your credit score. The impact varies with the type of action. Positive actions, like paying bills on time, raise your score and lower your risk in the eyes of a lender, insurer, or landlord. Negative actions do the opposite, and, depending on what the damaging action was, could be a big deal or a minor and temporary inconvenience. What factors impact your credit score? Payment history, credit utilization ratio, age of credit history, your credit mix, and new credit inquiries. For example, items in the small drop category in Figure 2-1 are minimal and can be offset quickly with other positive actions or even the passage of time. Think of them as small meteors that harmlessly burn up in the Earth's atmosphere. The major and maximum impact items in Figure 2-1 are more like dinosaur killer meteors. Figure 2-2 helps illustrate the recovery time for 5 different impacts to your credit score. Using a cosigner to raise your score. Getting a loan by having someone co-sign for you is a triple-edged sword. Co-signing means that another party, usually a person with better credit, signs alongside you to guarantee future payments if you default, drop dead, or are abducted by aliens. As long as your lender reports to the bureaus, each time you make a payment on time and for the right amount, you and your cosigner both accumulate more positive items. Also see Chapter 10 for information on authorized users. As time goes by, this helps offset earlier negative items on your report. Like falling snow, the good stuff covers all the muck underneath. Warning: although a co-signed loan can help get positive info onto your credit report, I call it a triple-edged sword because you may be borrowing when you shouldn't. If a professional lender is reluctant to give you a loan, the lender has a good reason. So now the co-signer who's not a professional and who likely has emotional ties clouding her judgment decides that guaranteeing your loan is okay. The co-signer is at risk if you default. The co-signer is fully responsible for the payment. If it takes 60 days for the co-signer to be informed that you haven't paid on time, his or her credit gets dinged, as does yours. A default could destroy a relationship. If your ability to pay off the loan is compromised, and you incur late fees or penalties or default on the loan, your cosigner is fully liable and her credit score may be damaged. This scenario just may mean the end of your relationship, but it does not end the loan obligation. Tip: my advice? If you ask a friend or relative to co-sign a loan, make sure that the loan is for as short a period as possible. The longer the loan is outstanding, the greater the chance a problem will arise or the relationship will become strained. Also, put your agreement in writing to make it official and to ensure that you both understand what you're agreeing to. Steve Bucci's theory of good enough credit. I often advocate the concept of good enough credit as opposed to perfect credit. Your credit standing, which is represented by your credit score, is a reflection of your life in financial terms. Lose your job, get a divorce, suffer an illness. The fallout from these life events shows up on your credit report and affects your credit score in one way or another. Late payments and too much borrowing activity are symptoms that may appear in your credit data. Although these events may lower your score to a degree, you shouldn't be driven to aspire to a perfect credit score of 850. Your life isn't perfect. Just ask your mother-in-law. So don't expect your credit history to be perfect either. Again, credit is only a means to an end. As long as your credit score remains good enough to get what you need and want, you're in good shape to achieve your financial goals. No use staying up nights worrying if your credit score has dropped from 775 to 774. A bad credit score can cost a lot in extra payments. For example, say you buy a house for $360,000 at a 30-year fixed rate with a down payment of $60,000. If your credit score is 639 instead of 760, you have to pay about $104,415 more in interest over the life of your loan. Turning small purchases into big credit. Because a lot of your credit score is based on using credit and making payments on time, see Chapter 13, I recommend using small purchases to get back into good standing quickly. Why does making small purchases work so well? Because each item costs less, so more purchases are reported to the credit bureaus faster. My rule is that if it costs more than $10, charge it and pay it off each month. Remember, major bank cards certainly report your activity to the credit bureaus. Some store cards may report to only one bureau, or they may not report at all. To find out whether your credit card purchases are being reported and scored, call your card's customer service number and ask. If your score is less than stellar, don't despair. Practicing good credit habits will raise your score over time. Scoring models look at how much of your limits you use. The more you use above a certain percentage, the higher the risk they believe you to be. To maximize your credit score, spread purchases over more than one card to keep your balance on each card as small a percentage of your maximum limit as possible. There is no magic number, but staying under 20% to 30% of your maximum limit or less is a good goal. Say you have two cards, one with a $10,000 limit and one with a $20,000 limit. Simply charge twice as much on the higher limit card to maximize your score. When your balance exceeds 20% of your limit, you begin to lose points, so even if you're making lots of small purchases, do your best to either pay off the balance each month or keep it under 20% utilization. This is one of the fastest ways to see improvement to your credit score. Pick up some extra points on your credit score by following a simple plan. Always pay on time. Your payment history makes up the largest chunk of your credit score. Reduce your debt load. Only use credit to the extent that you can pay it off every month or keep your total balance below 20% of your credit limit. Check your credit report for errors. You can get free credit reports from the credit bureaus or by requesting it from annualcreditreport.com or 877 322-8228. Send a dispute letter to the relevant credit bureau if you find mistakes. Keep your old accounts. Long credit history indicates stability. Be patient. It may feel like credit mistakes will haunt you forever, but your payment history from the past 2 years is more important than your payment history prior to that. Are you less concerned about your score than about paying down your balances? Some experts suggest that you pay down balances based on the interest rate, that is, pay them in descending order, starting with the highest interest rate to save money on overall payments. Others say that paying off smaller accounts first gives you a feeling of accomplishment, and therefore you are more likely to achieve your overall goal. My suggestion is that you choose the approach you find more satisfying. Just be sure that you make the choice. Don't let the first bill that shows up get the extra payment by chance. Creditors that don't report to the credit reporting agencies. Why doesn't every creditor report your history to all 3 credit bureaus? Because every time your creditors send data on you to a bureau, they have to pay a fee. Some lenders don't think that this step is worth the expense. Others don't see themselves as lenders. They may order a credit report before approving your loan or credit card application, but they want to save as much profit as they can. Typically, these non-reporters include credit unions. They look to save money where they can, so some may report to only one bureau and not all 3. Utilities. They don't see themselves as lenders, so they don't use credit reports to hook you up. They also usually don't report unless you pay very late. Tradespeople. They aren't lenders, but craftsmen and women. Doctors and hospitals. They don't see themselves as lenders, so they usually don't pay to report unless they send a bill to an outside collector. Collectors report you to the bureaus. Local finance companies. They may not report to a bureau, but they may come to visit you if you're late. Landlords. Most landlords don't report to credit bureaus, but may report to a rent bureau. See Chapter 14. However, high-volume landlords, those with a lot of properties, are now able to report rental payments directly to the credit bureaus each month. TransUnion, for example, requires a landlord to have at least 100 accounts before reporting tenant data. Some landlords with 500 or fewer units may report to a rent bureau, such as Experience Rent Bureau Service. Insurance companies. They don't report to the bureaus, but may report to specialized bureaus like the Medical Information Bureau or CLUE. The impacts of paying late, however, could end up increasing your rates. If you have a creditor that isn't reporting your activity to all, or even 1 or 2 of the credit bureaus, you'll get 0 to limited benefit from using it responsibly. However, even some prepaid card issuers are offering special offers, cashback rewards, or mileage for travel. Tip: make a list of each credit card, its balance, and its credit limit. Then, allocate your payments to reduce your percentage of credit used to 45% or less of the limit on as many accounts as possible. Doing so creates some great positive data in your credit report. This approach not only enables you to regain control of your accounts, but also helps you maximize your credit score, because accounts that exceed 50% of the limit count more heavily against you. When all your cards are at 45% of your limit or below, you may want to allocate more money to the highest interest rate cards. If you don't have a major bank credit card, you may want to try a secured card. You can get one without a fee if you shop around. A secured card differs from a regular Visa or MasterCard in that you maintain a balance in a savings account equal to your credit limit. Some cards may allow you more credit than you have on deposit to guarantee your payment. Secured card activity is reported just as any other credit card activity is reported, and it affects your credit score in the same way. so it can be a great option if you're trying to build credit. Tip: you can find great card comparisons at bankrate.com or creditcards.com. The latter has 2 sections to help you find the right card depending on your circumstance. One section, creditcards.com/bad-credit.php, is helpful for those with bad or damaged credit. The other section, creditcards.com/no-credit-history.php, is for those who have little or no experience with credit or who need to start a U.S. credit history. Credit from overseas doesn't follow you. Generally, in a typical credit market, if you make all your payments on time for a year, you should have enough of a positive payment history to get an unsecured credit card. Maximizing your credit score with major expenditures. Big-ticket creditors, those that specialize in expensive products or services, typically report to the credit bureaus. The reason is simple. They have a lot more to lose if they lend based on inaccurate information. So they want to see as complete and accurate a file as possible. Examples of big-ticket items that may enhance credit activity are home mortgages, cars, boats, student loans, furniture, and appliances. Major credit purchases may give your credit score a boost for 2 reasons. A major purchase is more likely to be in the form of a secured installment loan. Secured means that you pledge collateral on the item you purchase as security for the loan. If you default on the loan, the lender repossesses the security you pledged. In other words, you don't get to keep the item you purchased. Adding secured credit to the other types of credit you use, such as revolving credit cards, helps raise your credit score. You make the same payment each month. When it comes to credit scoring, making set monthly payments enables the people who figure your score to discover more about your creditworthiness. Making a set monthly payment is a measure of your stability. This is different from paying on a credit card, where you can vary your payments depending on your cash flow. Adhering to a regular payment schedule also indicates that you can handle a higher limit than you may have on a store, gas, or credit card account. Leveraging your mortgage. Owning a home and paying your mortgage can help build your credit in a few different ways. Credit grantors look at your credit report and credit score in order to rate your lendability, but they ultimately rely on you to be responsible for making the payments. Here's where the 3 C's of credit really show up. Character, collateral, and capacity are what credit scoring and lending are all about. Remember, a mortgage on your report tells the reader and the scorer that you have all 3 of the C's, and that at least one lender was so sure about you that it was willing to lend you a huge amount of money. The report indicates a large installment loan with fixed payments for a long period. All these factors favorably affect your credit score. The opposite is also true. Because of the huge amount of money involved and the seriousness of a long-term commitment, a mortgage default counts for a large negative on your credit history. A foreclosure is an even bigger negative. A mortgage is secured by the house, so if you default, the lender forecloses and takes the house back to pay off the loan. A foreclosure ends up costing the lender an average of tens of thousands of dollars when all is said and done. But don't feel too bad for the lender. You're held responsible in one way or another for any loss on the loan. Home equity lines of credit and home equity loans are a popular subset of traditional mortgages. They're good ways to access money at a low interest rate. They also represent new and additional borrowing on your credit report. For example, you can take out a big mortgage and have only one lender report one loan to the bureaus. If you use a home equity loan or line of credit in addition to your mortgage, you use the same collateral, your home, and borrow the same amount as you would with a bigger mortgage, but you do so with more than one loan. Thus, more than one item gets reported to the credit bureau each month, building more positive information in the same period. See the Lines versus Loans sidebar for more. Lines versus loans. What's the difference between a home equity loan and a home equity line of credit? Here's the scoop. A home equity loan is for a specified lump sum or single cash payment, say $10,000. When you get the home equity loan, you get the 10 big ones to put down on that car or whatever else you want to buy, and you have an installment payment due every month, usually at a set interest rate for a set amount of time. In the old days, these loans were called second mortgages, and they were a sure sign that you were on the path to ruin. Today, they're called equity products, and too many of us seem to have more than one. And yes, they're still a sign that you could be on the road to ruin. With a home equity line of credit, you get a line of credit maybe for $10,000 or $20,000, depending on how much you want to have available in case you need it. You don't have to take any money out of the line unless you have a use for it. The money just sits there like a wallflower at a dance, waiting for you to ask it to tango. Generally, you have a set period, called a draw period, during which you can access the credit, and a set period before which you have to pay it back. So until you use it all, the money is available and just sits there through the remainder of the draw period for free, or sometimes for a small annual fee. When you do draw money from the line, you generally have the option of paying it off any time without a prepayment penalty. The loan terms often allow you to pay only the interest and not the principal, an interest-only loan. The principal is due at the end of a period set in the loan agreement. Or you can choose to pay both interest and principal until the debt is paid off. Some loans allow you to decide what you're going to pay on a month-by-month basis, such as paying the principal and interest one month, but only the interest the next. Lines of credit are subject to review, and unused portions may be reduced or eliminated if conditions warrant. Warning: this scenario has a hitch, however. As you stack more debt on your home or your home decreases in value, you may reach the point where you and your castle are upside down. That is, you owe more on your home than it's worth. I've seen some homes so far upside down that their owners think they'll never get their money back and question whether continuing to pay good money into a bad investment makes sense. You may think that because you have a 30-year mortgage, you can just wait until prices rise to clear up your debt-to-value problem. But what if your boss offers you the general manager's job in a city too far away to commute to? Or what if the company lays you off, and you either have to move to find work or downsize to reduce your mortgage commitment? Or what if your adjustable rate mortgage resets and you can't afford the payment anymore? You'd then be in the position of needing to sell the house, but not at a price that would satisfy the loans attached to your home. If you don't have the money to make up the difference, you could face a potential foreclosure or a lost opportunity. See Chapter 7 for more information about how to avoid a foreclosure. Financing your car. Because of the very large price tags on most cars, most of us require some financing in order to purchase one. Such financing typically comes in the form of a 2 to 5+ year installment loan. Anyone lending you money to buy a car receives and reports credit bureau data. When lenders go on the hook for that much money, they want to be sure that you'll make your payments, even if you get in a cash squeeze. Most car loans are secured by the car. Warning: if you're debating using equity in your home to purchase a car, be careful. Using a home equity loan to buy a car may offer a tax advantage or a low interest rate, but it may increase the risk of a home default and subsequent foreclosure if you can't make the extra payment. If you default on that home equity loan, your car won't be repossessed. Instead, and much worse, your home may be foreclosed on. Plus, any mortgage debt forgiven in a short sale or foreclosure may be subject to income taxes. Although the Mortgage Forgiveness Debt Relief Act eliminates taxes due on forgiven mortgage debts, it excludes non-house related debt. See Chapter 6. Tip: be sure to pay off the loan you used to buy your old car before you buy your next new one. Some people keep old car loans on their home equity lines long after the cars are gone and keep adding new balances without paying off the old ones. Doing so can lead to an unpleasant surprise when interest rates go up or you need to sell your home. Weighing the pluses and minuses of leases. Leasing is a popular way to get a car. Please note I didn't say buy a car because you don't own the car in a lease arrangement. Consider a lease a long-term rental. Leases are popular because they generally require only a small down payment or perhaps none at all. Plus, they're a tax write-off if you're a business person. Signing the lease commits you to a stream of payments for an extended period, so this activity is normally reported to the credit bureaus. Warning: leases are difficult and costly to terminate. Unlike with a car loan, you can't sell the car and pay off the loan. With a lease, you owe all the payments, and you can't terminate the lease without making all the payments first. Tip: an active duty service person who is called away for military service can break a car lease. Chapter 5 covers this provision in more detail. To read the Service Members Civil Relief Act, SCRA, in its entirety, check out congress.gov/108/PUBL189/PUBL189.pdf. Steering clear of upside-down loans. The term sounds as uncomfortable as it is. Basically, in an upside-down loan, you owe more than the value of the item securing the loan. Avoid being upside down in a car loan or any secured loan. Upside-down home mortgages work similarly, if you can help it. A repossession or default is a negative on your credit report and causes your score to fall hard. An upside-down loan can hurt you when you want or need to sell the car and stop making payments. Say you owe $10,000 on a car loan and the value of the car is $7,000. You have to come up with the $3,000 difference or you can't sell the car. If you're in an accident and the car is totaled, the insurance company pays only what the car is worth. You have to pay the upside-down part. The situation gets worse if your financial situation changes. You can't make the payments on the car, and the creditor repossesses the car. The car is worth $7,000, but that's the retail value. The lender is likely to sell the car at auction, where the creditor gets only $5,000. Among the towing guy, the attorney, and the sales commission to the auctioneer, the fees on the repossession are $2,000. So you are credited with $3,000 against the $10,000 you owe. Now, you owe $7,000 in a lump sum to settle your account, you have no car, and you have bad credit. Paying back student loans. Because of the increasingly unaffordable price tag on higher education, many people have student loans. Student loans make a lot of sense to lenders. Although the person responsible for repayment may have no income at the time of the loan, the lender expects that good income is just around the corner and the person will soon pay the loan back. But what really makes these loans attractive to lenders is that they can't lose. Almost no student loans are dischargeable in bankruptcy, except in extreme situations, meaning that you have to pay them back sooner or later. Check out smartasset.com for a student loan calculator. Tip: if you have a student loan, chances are that it appears on your credit report. It may be reported more than once. Why? A loan is usually for a semester's or a year's worth of school expenses. Each loan is reported as a separate loan for each enrollment period. So 4 years' worth of student loans may add either 4 or 8 loans to your credit report. Credit reporting agencies may consolidate all the loans into one trade line, but only if they recognize them as part of a single transaction. Making payments and/or filing for benefits on time reflects a positive history on your credit report and adds to your credit score. This can be a lot of good news for your credit report. Warning: conversely, if you end up in default on your student loans, you'll see a lot of negative marks on your credit report from all those individual loan entries, and your credit score will fall. Any missed payments are reported to the bureaus, and you're subject to the full range of collection activity, just like you would be with any other loan. Tip: if you consolidate your loans after graduation, they'll show up in your report as one loan. Consolidating is the process of refinancing all your individual loans into a single loan. The original loans are marked paid in full, and the interest rate for the consolidated loan is often lower and the repayment term typically longer than for the individual loans. The net result is the convenience of a single, lower monthly payment. With a consolidated loan, you typically have a number of different repayment options, including paying the same amount each month, paying less now and more later, and basing your payments on your income. Warning: student loans aren't secured with collateral in the normal sense of the word. When you default on a student loan, you can't defer payment of the loan. In fact, you may have to pay it all at once unless you can come up with an acceptable repayment scheme. Additionally, you're not eligible for further student aid. Your school may withhold your transcripts. State and federal income tax refunds may be used to offset the loan amounts, and your wages when you get that job may be garnished. Finally, if you don't pay long enough, your Social Security benefits may be garnished. Understanding how good debt builds good credit. No doubt about it, getting into debt can get you into trouble. And if you're reading this book, chances are you've had some experience with debt trouble, or you're being proactive and hoping to avert potential credit problems. Although debt certainly has a downside, borrowing money can also do a great deal of good for your credit record. In the following sections, I tell you how. Achieving goals with the help of credit. Debt enables you to take advantage of those opportunities and experiences that enhance your life and create joy and fulfillment. That dream home with the white picket fence, the around-the-world cruise, the Ivy League education, and more. When you train your sights on your life goals and develop a spending plan that allows you to get there in the time frame you set, you've found the secret to the true value of credit. Sending a message to potential lenders. If you had no debt, ever, then you'd never have used credit, and you wouldn't likely have a credit report or credit score. But let's face it, in today's world, living without credit is hard. Most people need credit to buy those big-ticket items, vehicles, homes, higher education, and they rely on credit for life's emergencies. Creating a positive credit history, a credit reputation of sorts, says to prospective lenders that you're a good credit risk. Showing that you can handle debt puts you in a position to receive the best rates and terms. Remember, using credit wisely not only is good for your lifestyle, but also gives prospective creditors the opportunity to show you the respect you deserve based on your past performance. Lenders prefer to loan money to individuals who've borrowed before, who can show that they understand the commitment of credit and who have a history of prompt payment and reliable follow-through. In fact, Given the choice between lending to someone who's never borrowed before and someone with a history of debt, even with a couple of blips on the report, my guess is that most creditors would favor the credit veteran over the rookie. Think of it this way. Say your two 20-year-old nephews ask to borrow your car. One has never driven before, and the other has a 4-year driving history but got a parking ticket last year. Who would you give the keys to? Giving non-lenders a sense of how you handle responsibility. If you've had no debt and therefore have no credit history, you may find yourself disadvantaged in other ways. Many prospective employers check your credit record as part of the hiring process. If you have no record, they can't confirm their good opinion of you. Plus, they can't use your credit history as a positive factor when deciding whether to hire you. Without that credit record, they lack an additional tool when comparing your application to those of other applicants. The same holds true when it comes to renting an apartment, applying for insurance, and so on. If you have no track record, you're an untested risk. Selecting the best tools for building your credit. I've learned over time that using the right tools makes any job go faster and gives me better results. The tools for mending your credit are readily available, and I show you how to find and use them in this section. I begin with essential preparation by walking you through a spending plan, and then I discuss how to tweak your credit report. Finally, I tell you how to determine when the job is done by using your credit score. Spending your way to better credit with a spending plan. Unless you have a trust fund or you make a huge amount of money and just can't seem to spend it all, you need a spending plan. A spending plan, which helps you take care of today's responsibilities and tomorrow's goals, has 4 components. Household income. This includes all the money coming in from salaries, tips, overtime pay, bonuses, royalties, and so on. Be sure to consider your payroll deductions, such as money you put into a retirement plan, as income. Living expenses. Your present outlay, from groceries and lunch money to rent or mortgage, makes up your expenses. Also consider those non-essential frivolities that crop up, like your daily dose of designer coffee or the occasional trip to the movies. Savings for financial goals. In this category, you account for vacations, college education, retirement, and other important goals. Emergency fund. Without an emergency fund to cover unexpected and usually unpleasant life events, such as a medical expense or a job loss, you won't succeed. Saving for that unexpected emergency is critical. You need between 6 and 12 months of living expenses. Otherwise, when the emergency comes along, you have to get the money from one of 2 sources: the future, as in spending tomorrow's money today, or your savings for your goals, as in the money you were setting aside for that Ferrari. Adding up your income. Here's how a spending plan works. You start by identifying all your household income. That's your regular salary or wage, plus overtime pay, bonuses, and predictable windfalls like an IRS refund if you're pretty sure you'll get one. If you're self-employed, I'm talking about your net income from your business or practice here. Remember, saving in your company retirement account makes sense, especially if your employer matches your contributions. Plus, saving for retirement probably ties into one of your goals, unless you plan to die at your desk. Adding up all your expenses. After you have the income part down on paper or in your computer, do the same with your expenses. Make sure to include savings as an expense for each of the financial goals you list. The best way to manage this goal-based savings is to estimate how far in the future the goal is, what the goal costs, and what you have to put aside each month to cover the expense in time. For example, say you want to take a cruise on your wedding anniversary 3 years from now. The cost is $3,600 for the two of you. That's 36 months at $100 a month. If you can't afford the $100 a month, postpone the cruise for a year and save $75 a month instead, or take a cheaper cruise and still go in 3 years. The next time you find yourself standing before the flat-screen TV at the mall, your picture of the future will be in clear focus, the cruise or the TV, but not both. Paying your existing debts. Don't forget to set aside money to pay your existing debts, such as credit card balances and car loans. You may need to tweak your plan now and then to reconcile the numbers and the timeframes for your goals. But you're now more firmly in control of your financial future. From here on, you make the decisions about what money goes to which categories, not the marketing guys. Chapter 18 goes into more detail on budgeting for your future. Tracking your progress, paying attention to your credit report and score. Knowing where you and your credit stand is important so that you can gauge your progress and make adjustments if necessary. You don't need to check your credit every day, but you should take advantage of all the opportunities you have for free peeks that come your way. You get a free copy of your credit report annually, another free copy if you apply for credit and don't get the top rate, another when a credit report is used to set your insurance cost, and yet another if you're out of work. Remember, the Fair and Accurate Credit Transactions Act, also known as the FACT Act or FACTA, requires all 3 major credit reporting bureaus to provide you with a free copy of your credit report once a year. Some states require that you be given 2 reports annually. Stagger getting a copy of your report from each of the 3 bureaus because they often contain different information. See Chapter 14 for information on how to get your reports. When you get your credit reports, read them over and make sure that the information is accurate, complete, and up to date. Chapter 14 explains how to scrutinize your credit reports and fix any errors you find. Remember, negative items stay on your credit report for 7 years. The main exceptions are overdue tax debts, which stay until they are resolved, child support defaults, which stay posted until they're cleared up, bankruptcy, which remains on your report for up to 10 years. Positive account information stays on your credit report for much longer. Some positive trade lines continue to be reported for 10, 20, or even 30 years. Chapter 3. Cleaning up your credit reports. In this chapter, understanding why good credit is important, verifying the accuracy of your credit reports, knowing how credit-related laws can help you, disputing and correcting errors on your credit reports, ensuring that your reports contain positive information. We live in an information age. Instead of talking, we text, tweet, and TikTok. The mobile app, not the sound of an old clock. When we hear the word Amazon, we don't think of the rainforest in Brazil, but of a vast online shopping site where we can buy just about anything from just about anywhere. Today, you can research a new car, apply for a loan, and have the car delivered to your driveway without ever leaving the comfort of your couch. You and your couch may be in an apartment with a lease you applied for online, or in a house you refinanced through the internet. All these relationships and transactions depend on the flow of vast amounts of information, and your credit report is a critical part of that information, especially in financial transactions. When it goes right, we all benefit, but with billions of pieces of data floating around, errors can and do happen. You have a say in how you run your financial life and pay your bills, and that payment information should be reported accurately. Mistakes, misreported information, and identity theft or fraud all can affect your credit reports. More and more financial decisions are being made from long distances by people who know you only from your credit file. In this environment, where your credit reports can make all the difference in whether you get a job, an apartment, or a loan, you should play an active part in ensuring your credit profile is as accurate as possible. That's why knowing what's in your credit report and polishing it to its highest luster are vitally important. The tools are yours to use. You just need to know what and where they are. That's what this chapter is all about, helping you look your very best by burnishing your credit reports. It can sound intimidating, but cleaning up your credit reports is not as difficult as you may think. The following sections give you the knowledge you need to make your reports look their best as quickly as possible. Can you erase the past? No, but you can take steps to ensure all the information is accurate, that it all belongs to you, and that bad stuff that should be removed is removed, including fraudulent information. Understanding the true value of good credit. Banks and credit unions regularly review your credit profile and use the information largely to decide whether to approve you for a loan or to determine what interest rate to charge you. But banks and credit unions aren't the only ones with a legal right to check your credit report. Employers, landlords, insurance companies, and others are increasingly using the data in your credit reports to make all kinds of decisions, including whether to extend credit to you and on what terms, rent you an apartment, grant you insurance coverage or set premium prices, hire you for a new job or give you a promotion at work. Although it's important to stress that although your credit report may be used for employment decisions, employers never get credit scores. Award you a professional license in your line of work, qualify you for security clearance for your job or in the military. The people who make such decisions know that they're part of an increasingly litigious society. Discrimination on any basis can cost them massive court awards. Consequently, they use independent data, devoid of discrimination, favoritism, or prejudice, to support and validate their decisions. What does this mean to you? If you have negative items on your credit report, you may pay more for an apartment, an insurance policy, or a loan, or you may not qualify at all. That's why having a solid credit report is so important. The information in your credit report is a good predictor of future financial and non-financial behavior in your life. So if you're borrowing, looking for work or a place to live, seeking career advancement, renewing insurance, or getting licensed, you want to make sure that your credit information is accurate, current, and yes, about you and not someone else. Warning: steering clear of credit repair companies. When you're desperate for a quick credit fix, claims from organizations saying, "We can fix your credit today," sound too good to be true. That's because they are. Predatory credit repair companies know that you're looking for any glimmer of hope. What they really do is take advantage of your desperation and lack of knowledge to separate you from your hard-earned money, while your credit report goes unchanged. The Federal Trade Commission, FTC, may have said it best. Credit repair companies can't remove negative information that's accurate and timely from your credit report. Anything a credit repair company can do legally, you can do for yourself at little or no cost. Only time and a personal debt repayment plan will improve your credit. Here are several other reasons you should avoid credit repair companies that promise a quick fix for a fee. Credit repair services are expensive. If you're having trouble paying your bills, money is probably already tight. The last thing you can afford is paying someone to do something you can do yourself for free. Some services charge a monthly fee. Just do a quick online search, and you'll find fees starting at $99 per month. That's almost $1,200 per year. We've personally seen instances where the credit repair firm charges $700 to $1,000 per account to dispute the information. If you had that much extra cash lying around, you would be better off using it to pay down existing debts and other monthly bills. That would do more for your credit report and credit scores than paying someone to give you false hope. Remember, websites and advertisements for credit repair firms can look very convincing, even to people who are very knowledgeable. They're still charging for services that you can do for free. There's no such thing as an easy or quick fix when it comes to credit. And if you're having credit problems, we'd be willing to bet you don't have any money to spare. Credit repair companies have a terrible track record when it comes to delivering what they promise. For decades, the credit repair industry has had a reputation for taking advantage of desperate consumers. The reputation is so bad, in fact, that in 1996, Congress passed a law trying to rein in their unfair practices. The Credit Repair Organizations Act, CROA, spells out what a credit repair company has to do before it takes a penny from you. Know your rights before you agree to anything with an organization that's promising to fix your credit. Here are a few of the things CROA says a credit repair company must do. It has to fulfill all the terms of a written contract before receiving any payment. If the credit repair company demands money up front or doesn't provide a written contract, it's breaking the law. It must allow you 3 days to withdraw from any agreement. If you change your mind in those 3 days, the company can't take any money or other action against you. It can't ask you to provide false information, such as a name or social security number, to alter your credit history. That's fraud. Which brings us to the next important thing to know about predatory credit repair organizations. Credit repair companies can get you into a lot of trouble. Most credit repair companies use one of two strategies. The first strategy is to challenge or dispute everything on your credit report, even though they and you know the information is accurate. The scheme is to submit so many disputes for the exact same thing that the credit bureau and creditors won't be able to respond to one of the disputes within the legal time frame. As a result, the items not verified will come off your credit report in 30 days. Sounds good, right? Not really. Congress recognized this practice as deceptive and changed the law that governs credit reporting. Now, if a lender doesn't respond in time, the lender can tell the credit bureau to put the information back on your report. The credit bureau has to send you a notice telling you that the information was returned. If the information is accurate, it will eventually come back. And if you're thinking, yeah, but I can get a loan while the information is deleted, consider this. When the information comes back on your report, you could be considered to have committed fraud. Ouch! The other strategy is to try to establish a new identity for you using an employer identification number, EIN. The idea is that, with your new identification, you'll begin to develop a good credit report and leave all that bad stuff behind. There are several problems with that approach. First, the credit bureaus can recognize numbers that are not valid Social Security numbers. So an EIN would basically be ignored, or the credit bureaus may add it as a variation in your identifying information. Either way, you can't duck your existing credit history. The credit bureaus don't just match to the number. They use all your identifying information. Second, by using false identifying information to try to hide from a bad credit history, both the credit repair company and you may be committing fraud, especially after you apply for new credit. Why?
We hope you enjoyed this preview. To continue listening to this audiobook on Google Play Books, use the link in the video description.